Hello and welcome to Inside Food City Center. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And MTSU gives Tennessee probably the best run for their money they've had all season. Leads at halftime by 6, and Tennessee responds really well in the second half. Ends up winning by 18, but a game that Tennessee had to kind of sweat out for a little bit there, maybe for like 30, 35 minutes. You feel like that's beneficial for Tennessee going into SEC play, that maybe they get punched in the mouth a little bit early, but obviously still respond really well. But maybe, I guess, kind of prove you're not invincible as them to be number one team in the country.
Yeah, I think it doesn't hurt. I think we kind of all know, even in this game, you kind of felt like, Tennessee was going to do what they did in the end, and they did. But I think it does help. I don't think it can hurt that you're going in now. You got Norfolk State, and then you're playing a ranked Arkansas team, then a ranked Florida team after that on the road. So, yeah, I think it is beneficial. I think it helps you a ton to be able to win these kind of games. They've had a few challenges, like you mentioned. The Virginia game had a couple stretches there. Miami in New York had a couple stretches, and then obviously the Illinois game at the end with Jordan Gainey's buzzer beater. So they've had some tests, but this one it kind of had a different feel to it. Given the fact that they trailed at halftime for the first time. They trailed for the first part of that second half, and it seemed like for a while, they're as good as they were playing in the second half, they were having trouble putting them away, and they finally do it in the last 4 or 5 minutes. But I think it does help you. I think that they've proven they can win these kind of games now, and that's a quality, I think, mid-major team that came in here with 9 wins. And you're going to face games like that in the NCAA tournament. So yeah, I think it does help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also probably gives Rick Barnes plenty of things to hone in on in film and I guess figure out what needs to be corrected. Leading the way for Tennessee, not in points, it was Chaz Lanier, but Zakai Ziegler with a double-double, gets up to 15 assists. Just how impressive was he tonight? Oh
yeah, I mean he was huge, and you kind of, again, one of those performances from him where offensively it's kind of slow starting out, and the next thing you look up and one reason Tennessee's going on that run out there in the second half to take the lead is because of him and what he's able to do. And I think the most assists back there, of course we'll have to double check this, I think 97 or 87 was the last time that many assists were in a game. So I mean you expect performances like that out of him, especially in a game like that. I thought his quote back there when we talked to him a minute ago was, we expect this. We maybe not expect it, but we practice for this. We practice for games like this, and they feel battle tested, and he's a big reason why. I mean, he's a guy that has stepped up time and again in big situations, and for him to do what he was able to do tonight is a big reason why Tennessee was able to pull away in the late in the second half.
And that lob threat, I think, is a big deal too, where it opened things up for him getting to the rim as well. When, you're able to throw it up to Felix or Cade Phillips, and they're able to put it home. It makes you have to respect that. And that big in the paint can't really slide over as easy to help on a shorter Zakai, and you saw him benefit from that as he had a few wide open layups where he gets past his guy, and just the threat of him throwing that lob, which he had multiple times before, kind of gets into the rim a lot easier. So that was a really positive thing, I think, to see from Tennessee's offense. Was to see Zakai Ziegler get going, shoot the ball pretty efficiently. Jermaine Mashack just takes one shot at the end of this game, though. Makes the three-pointer, but really goes the whole game without shooting, and still feels like one of the most important players on this team. Does that not just kind of summarize what he brings to the table?
Yeah, I think it does. And, somebody asked MTSU's coach back there, and so he's a high-energy guy. He does so many things. Rick Barnes talks about it. We've all seen it here for the last 3 or 4 years. There's so many things he does that you kind of ignore the box score, and you just expect him to. And I thought one of his biggest plays tonight was coming out of that halftime, and he comes on here, gets his hand on a shot, and does a balancing act right there on the baseline, is able to dish a pass back out to Zakai, and Zakai goes down and scores, and that kind of helped start that run for them. And he's been doing that for his whole career here, it feels like, starting things on the defensive end. And we've talked about it before. I think, obviously, Tennessee, Rick Barnes, they take that trade-off. What he's able to give you on the defensive end, even on a night where he does make one shot. But yeah, I mean, you just come to expect those kind of performances from him.
Now, Cameron Carr update before we get out of here. Obviously not with the team anymore. Kind of surprising news going into this game. Just a few hours before tip-off, it comes out that Cameron Carr is stepping away from the team permanently. He's going to try to enter the transfer portal after this season and continue his career. Rick Barnes was asked about that situation, said that not that they were necessarily expecting it, but that it also didn't take them by surprise at the same time. They're around these guys so often, they can tell kind of where they're at. But I think the quote he just walked out. There wasn't really a conversation. He hit the road and got out of there. Said it disappointed his teammates, and he wasn't really sure why the timing was where it was. He was asked directly, like, do you see a benefit of entering the transfer portal at this time in the season? And he said no. Maybe he didn't understand the rule to the fullest extent. He made sure to say, I'm not saying that is exactly what happened. It's just kind of his guess, because he seems like he feels like he's still a little bit in the dark about it as well. But it does pose a little bit of a question of Tennessee's depth right now. Obviously, J.P. Estrella out for the season. Now you're missing Cam Carr for the rest of the season. So that gives you 9 scholarship players. And when you have a guy like Bishop Boswell, who's not able to go tonight, he's day-to-day. I think that they feel pretty good about getting him back for SEC play. But then you're down to 8 scholarship players. And then Jemai Meshack gets injured for a stretch of this game, and that was just kind of a hand injury that he ended up playing through fine. But now all of a sudden you're down to 7 scholarship players. So I think that is something to keep an eye on going forward, just where Tennessee's depth is at. You're kind of 1 or 2 injuries away from maybe things getting a little scary. Rick Barnes talked about how, really you want to play 6 guys. You want to feel comfortable with 7, and maybe you get to 8. And he's played more than that in his career at Tennessee, but I think that kind of shows that he is confident in the guys he has available, but they're going to have to all step up. They're going to have to stay healthy, but also stay out of foul trouble. You can't have what happened at Illinois happen again, where you have key guys in foul trouble that have to miss stretches and guys fouling out, because all of a sudden, really quickly, you're only with walk-ons on your bench, and that's going to make it really tough to win big-time basketball games. So just something to keep in mind going forward. I don't think it's anything to hit the panic button on just yet, but definitely could rear its head as things progress. We'll have more coverage of Tennessee basketball throughout this week, heading into that final game of out-of-conference play and then SEC play. Football season's wrapped up, but still coverage as the transfer portal does its thing in football, and the timing of that as players exit Tennessee, and then some guys are, we already have Wendell Moe announcing his commitment, and you can read about that and what an Arizona reporter said about that on VolReport.com, but also more guys expected to join. Lady Vols coverage, baseball's right around the corner, really everything Tennessee athletics over at VolReport.com. Links to everything is in the description. Thank you for watching.